You've got questions about fitness, nutrition, mindset, health as a whole, and I'm here to help answer them. From fat loss and strength training to post rehab and building a truly sustainable approach to wellness, my goal is to help you build a strong, healthy body and mind that actually lasts. I'm Ray Cook, and if you're ready for practical, no fluff guidance that you can use right away, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. Nice. What's up, dudes? Let me share my comment or the question that we'll be answering for today's Q&A Friday. But like I said, if you guys have other questions that you want me to answer, either alongside this one, complete tangent from this one, things that have literally nothing to do with this question, feel free, rattle it off. I'll do my best to answer it. Good morning, man. My question today that is coming from the list: should I focus on strength training or cardio first? Context, especially common among, I like that it branched off, beginners, women, people managing weight, blood sugar, or joint pain. Opens the door to functional training and strength first messaging. I'm always interested and intrigued with the context that this thing applies. Is that really how it phrased it at first? Yeah, especially common among beginners, women, people managing weight, blood sugar, or joint pain. Okay, sure. And that's it. I think that's a good question. I've been asked that question actually a handful of times. The context of this one is weird. I'm gonna say that right out the gate. Kind of weird, kind of strange, but all right. Either way, I've heard that from a lot of different people. Should you focus on strength training or cardio first? There is no good answer to this. I'm just going to say that first and foremost. It entirely depends on your goals. 100%. If you okay, let me first start it here. My personal heavily biased opinion, can't state that enough, is you should be doing both. You should find a way to prioritize doing some level of strength and some level of cardio. There is no first, and that's coming from somebody that prioritized cardio first in the lieu of not knowing this stuff. So maybe the context on this one is correct on this, where it's like beginners. I didn't know any differently either when I first started this 10 years ago plus now. Shit, 13 years ago. God, I'm getting old. It's okay. I did that. Like, I did the cardio stuff because at that point, it didn't seem anyhow, a lot of people talking about health and wellness in different capacities. So when I first started with all this stuff, what was out there that I would look up was just like, how do you lose? Like the love handles, for example, was literally what I typed into Google. And the answer was run a lot and eat little. That was it. Like, that wasn't helpful. That was completely contradictory advice that anybody should take. Do not do that. It was terrible. And I've talked about that heavily. If you want me to talk about it more, I can. But that was the beginning of my journey with this stuff. And maybe that's where the context is also going with this. But I would say the entire piece is context dependent, where it's like, I now am like, no, you should be doing strength as a main priority, but you still need cardio. Because let's say it this way, without strength, by the time we're 60, 70, 80, getting out of your chair is going to suck. Trying to do anything is going to suck. You got a single flight of stairs, best of luck to you. You want to carry in some groceries? Fat freaking chance. Like, you got to find the ability to have some strength to allow your capacity as you get older to improve. And if you never work on strength, or let's say it this way, if you don't do anything but cardio, by the time you get to that point in life, it's going to be rough. There have been a lot of people that I've seen in physical therapy standpoints over the years that have focused very heavily on cardio. On the outside, they appear to be in fantastic shape. In actual execution, they are damn near wheelchair bound. Not the best case scenario. Granted, there's other stuff going on too for all these people. It's not just like they didn't strength train and now they're screwed, or all they did was cardio and now they're toast. That's never truly the case. But you do want to set yourself up in the best case scenario by stacking in some stuff to help you. So just remember that big piece that I just like very briefly glanced over. None of this happens in a vacuum, meaning likely when you see someone at 60, 70, 80 and they can't do something in particular, or they have a certain ailment, it's not because they didn't choose to do one or the other. They had other life stuff happen, and they have therefore been just destroyed by life, but some things could have benefited them. Will they fix the problem they're currently in? Who the hell knows? But it could have helped them, potentially. And my mom said she wished she had more strength and muscle now in her 60s. Exactly. And that's the big thing. And something I try to get this point across, and I'm going to come back to the question in a second, to my people that are 65 and up, because I got a handful that are 65 and up. is just because you're joining it now doesn't mean that you've done yourself some disservice by not knowing that you should have been doing this earlier. So many people from like literally 65 and up, some even a little bit younger than that at this point in the game, we're just never told this is highly important. Because in reality, the fitness world, all the strength stuff didn't really start coming into its own until like the 80s, the late 70s. That's not that long ago, like at all. So for a lot of people that are 65, 70, like up there a little bit, that's not the context for them where it's like, oh, I wished you started earlier. They didn't know. So like that's a big shit piece for them. But the cool piece is for those of us now, we know. So like something that I do try to do a lot is like sounds maybe kind of weird. I treat everybody that's like over 65. I say that as a very blanket statement. This is just kind of what happens. Over 65, as if like you're my grandparent, because I very vividly remember helping my grandma try to just learn how to squat because her knees hurt so bad. I remember doing those little things because certain things were just not able to be done. So taking that and applying it to everybody that's over 65 especially is an important goal. So like a lot of you, and some of you actually haven't seen this one. There's an exercise called get up, get downs, which it literally is exactly what it sounds. Get up off the floor, get back down to the floor, and repeat for reps. I give that no matter where you're at, from 65 and up, and maybe a little bit younger, depending on your needs. It was not even a conversation. You just get the exercise because I need you to do it. Because I don't want you to get to the floor and be SOL. And that would suck. We never did strength training in gym health class. It was all about jogging and playing sports. I wish we learned a bit more about strength training and flexibility. 100%. But I was lucky enough that the school that I went to, they did actually round it out pretty well. I was just dumb and didn't really pay that much attention to it at the time. Took it for granted. Now I'm like, okay, all this stuff may be helpful. LOL, I may have been stuck on your floor. You may have been stuck on the floor. This is very valid. That was different, though. That was not the context that I rate that statement in. I'm glad you brought that up and you said something about that. That's hilarious. But okay, coming back to the thought of like, should you focus on strength training or cardio first? Again, there is no first. I am biased. I think you should always put in some strength. At the same token, all this is goal dependent. If you want to get stronger, obviously go lift weights. If you want to get better cardiovascular health, obviously go do some cardio. But I would love for you, and I will impose a goal on every single one of you, to have a quality of both. Not equality of both, but a quality of both. You don't have to be ungodly strong. You don't have to be able to run a marathon. I don't want to run a marathon. I think that sounds like trash. Literally no desire to do so. I'll run a 5K. I'll run a 10K. I've never really wanted to do a half marathon. None of those things sound good, but I'll do the little ones. Why the hell not? But I do think strength needs to be there. I do think a level of cardio needs to be there, and they can work in tandem, which is a really cool thing. And the weird piece of cardiovascular health that perfectly ties in with strength too is if you have good cardiovascular health, your recovery rate in and out of your workouts dramatically improves. Meaning that special number that I put in for rest time for all of you that either do or tend to ignore it, either do it or tend to ignore it. Your rest time will reduce dramatically, depending on the type of lift that you're doing and the weight that you're doing. But your rest time will dramatically reduce if your cardiovascular health is fair or good. That's just a blanket statement. You will find out that if your rest time goes whoop, your cardiovascular health is improving. So a lot of times when like I chuck the challenge workouts at you guys, it's not because I want to put you through some obnoxious living hell, which I'll say that 1,000 times over. I killed one of you this week. Yeah, I apologize for that. She's wrecked. Anyhow, the challenge is in there because I want to push both factors. For some of you, the challenges look different because of the capacity you're at, because of your needs, because of your goals. But for the most part, the challenges that I put in there are a mix of strength and conditioning because I want you to have both. They should be hard. They should be challenging. They might be segmented where it's like, here's purely a strength movement. Here's purely a conditioning piece. But somewhere, somehow, they're both in there. That's why. Is there isn't really a should I do this or should I do this? You should do both, honestly. Like that, and that's a weird way to say it because a lot of times I'll say less is more in this context. And this is one of those where it's like you should aim to do both, even if that means you got 1 day of strength, 1 day of cardio stuff. If that is all you can do, if you can do 2 days maximum, great. I'll still probably lean on the side where you should do both of those days of strength training, but somewhere in those 2 days, also put in like a smidge of cardiovascular work, even if that's just an incline walk or a bike or a row, something like that, something that you mildly enjoy. But you should try to do both of those things. So I think that answered that question. Is there more that you guys wanted to elaborate on that one? Let me know. Oh, that's a big comment. I'm glad I waited until the end to say that one. I did Zumba and jazzercise for years. It was great, but I didn't do strength training for the last few years. I don't have the joint pain, back pain, hip pain like I did. And if I do booger something a bit, the recovery is much faster. See? Big benefit. That's dope. I think about grandma too. She was active and healthy, but she didn't know about strength training until way late in life. Yeah, like that. And that's the hard piece. Like, the cool thing is cardiovascular health was introduced on scale, really, a long time ago. And so was realistically, so was resistance training, but they weren't like pushed for a lot of people to like try to get into. It was like, if you have the stuff to do resistance training, you can. And if you have the ability to go outside and walk, do that, or anything in between. But cardiovascular health is just, it's simple for most people to access. So it's the easy one to push. So the nice thing for a lot of aging people is cardiovascular health is prevalent, but it isn't the end all be all when it comes to late in life stuff. So I do feel more sure of my body now than I did before. There we go. Getting up and down off the floor, lifting something, etc. That's all I can ask for. And I hope this comes across in the way when I talk to you guys about all this stuff. My goal isn't to have any one of us, I say us on purpose, any one of us be like, stage ready to go do bodybuilding stuff. Like, that's not me. But my goal is for all of us to get to the point that when we're older, we don't have a limitation of like, I just can't do that. I can't lift this thing up. I can't get off the ground. I can't do this. The less can'ts that I can get you to say over the long term, I feel like the better I've done my job. Straight up. I know the nutrition side is obviously very important. Yeah, we talk about a lot of the weight loss, fat loss side just because that's my past. Like, that's stuff that I very much lived, and that's why I'm in this. But most of what I do is to make sure that by the time all of us are older, we're not chair bound. We can do stuff. We can go enjoy life. And if that means figuring out creative, weird, random ass ways to do the things that you got to do, that's what we'll do. So I hope all that makes sense. Thank you guys for joining in with that one. I think that was a fun one. But yeah, just keep doing your best. Show up to the best you can. Try to find more ability to say, I can do this, less I can't do this, and just see where life takes you. You'd be surprised when you start getting confident, like you said, with your body, figuring out the little things that you didn't think you'd want to do or even be able to do. And then all of a sudden, now you can. I think that stuff's dope. But thank you guys for just being you. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday. The end of the month is here. Give yourself a big hug and a pat on the back, because good God, do we need it all right now. You got a question for the next Q&A? Drop it in the comments. If you want deeper support, consider subscribing or joining our coaching community where we host multiple live calls every week. The link's in the description. And if this helped you in any way, please share it with someone who's also working on their health too. And remember to stay active, eat mindfully, think positive thoughts, and let's get after it.